G'day YouTube, Warbles on a lot here. Further to the saga of fixing the gate that got modified when the tree fell on it, I've made the new pieces of wood for the actual gate repair, but when I do stand the gate post up and reseat that bottom spike hinge, I figure it's probably going to be a good idea to put in a diagonal brace to actually take the weight of the gate when the gate is open, because it's always dragged on the ground. So from out of the pile of the cleared away crown of the tree, I managed to pull one piece that's 70 inches long, or 178 centimetres. It's not entirely straight, and it has got a couple of branches poking off it. So for the neatness of the thing, I'm going to have a go at making it as squarish or rectangularoid as I possibly can, even though it's on the very bottom limits of what you can do with a guide rail. So step one is bolt the guide rail to the centre line of the log, as established by the string between two nails theory, which is accomplished in the old-fashioned way. These are for the coach bolts to hold the rails on. Okay, first rail is on because the log's got a bow in it. I've put a bridge between the rail and the log. Now about to put the second coach bolt in to mark the hole, which is done that way. After having looked very carefully through the hole to make sure you don't nail the string. See how close you go? So, before setting up for the first cut, you get the log and the rail to look like this. And we put the stake in place with a small sledgehammer. And that will stop the whole thing from rolling side to side while sawing. That's the theory. Okay, so this is the alignment for the first cut. All it's got to do is put a mostly flat side all the way along there. And then I'll come back down the other side of the guide rail and try and get one parallel on the other side, but that very rarely happens. You generally wind up with trapezoid shaped bits of wood with this system, at least when you're cutting off both sides of the same guide rail. Always fairly vital to make sure that the string is led off away from the side that the saw is going to be cutting on. First cut! And now I have to put the stake in at the other end of the rail. And start from the other end. Okay, now we try and come back. And that's pretty good for milling with a chainsaw. Now I just rotate it 90 degrees and do it again. It's a little bit like a very slow sailing boat. You go a long way in a long time. Well, we shall see what we shall see. I'll do cut number 3 with the camera off. Well, I shaved that side as close as I could. Now I'll get set up for the final cut. Now that it's starting to look a bit like a piece of wood. Okay. Leave that framed at about there. I should get all of this. Done. 2 5/8 inches by 3 3/4 inches. And it should be strong enough to do the job. Let's just hope it's long enough to do the job. So, here endeth the second lesson. The use of a chainsaw mill for what they call backslabbing, which basically consists of trying to cut the rectangular prism out of the centre of a roughly cylindrical piece of timber, as opposed to quarter cut milling, which involves first cutting the log in half, then cutting the halves into quarters, and then cutting quarter milled timber. And in quarter cut milled timber, the growth rings run from the large flat side to the large flat side. That crack on the one on the left, that had already started before I cut the timber. Ideally, you are supposed to halve and quarter the log on the same day that it is felled. There's a lot involved in this game. Quarter cut milling creates a lot of triangular pieces of waste wood. Takes more time, but you get better quality, structurally more sound timber at the end of it. Backslabbing makes small round trees look like they're large rectangular pieces of building timber, but the centre of it has got the hollow core. And though the sun may be high in the sky, I think it's time to get out of these Kevlar chaps, which in theory can stop you from cutting your leg off if the 115 tooth chain breaks and comes off the bar. But in the meantime, it's beer o'clock. Warbles on a lot to YouTube. Malt liquor video, label out, cheers. Oh, that's nice. Ciao.